day. My name is Taisha Presley. I am the owner and the founder of Legacy Empowerment Services, a Charlotte-based virtual mental health private practice where I treat individuals who've experienced some type of trauma, some type of dysfunction, and what they are trying to do is they are trying to rehabilitate their lives. That emotional spending is our attempt at meeting an unmet need. And so unmet needs are what motivate us as human beings. We're always trying to meet our individual needs. Sometimes what we will notice is that we focus so much on the behavior of what we're doing. For example, the spending, the overspending, the underspending, the inability to save. We're focusing so much on the behavior, and we forget that underneath behaviors are needs. We are always motivated by needs. So instead of just focusing on the emotional spending, the behavior, what I want to shift your attention to is the need. What is our needs? So in order to understand that, we have to understand that we are always being conditioned. We are always learning as human beings. We start this learning very early on. As a matter of fact, you actually start learning in your mother's womb. So we are always learning and developing, and we are always being conditioned to believe a certain thing. We are always being conditioned to get our needs met. Let's understand that, okay? So let's say, for instance, as a child, you grew up in a home with financial insufficiency. Mama and daddy did not have money. Mama and daddy always worked. Mommy and daddy always provided. Mommy and daddy always spent. Whatever your story was, there is a learning that you had because of that storyline, okay? And so that storyline produced in you conditioning. It produced in you ways of thinking. It produced in you ways of actually wanting to get your needs met based on the conditioning that you had growing up, based on your experiences. Let's pretend that we have a client here. Our client's family grew up without money. In this client's experience, they experienced lack. They felt unsafe because of this lack. And they told themselves that, you know what? I don't like feeling unsafe. As a matter of fact, I don't like it so much that I'm going to rescue myself from this. And so that experience of that lack produced in them the desire to rescue themselves, to experience another level of safety, to meet a need. And so this person, this child, this client grows up, full-grown adult, has their family, and they are still trying to meet that basic need that they had as a child. Here's how it plays out. It plays out in that need being activated by a situation. Let's say, for instance, COVID was the situation. The need becomes activated because of feeling insufficiency again in COVID. This person feels that insufficiency, and because they feel it, it feels very overwhelming to them in that moment. Because remember, when they were a child, they couldn't do anything about it. It was an unmet need. That need is produced or activated in the moment, and they try to rescue themselves from whatever they experienced as a child that they couldn't rescue themselves from. And so the emotional spending becomes the attempt to meet the need. Now here's the thing. We're always learning. We're always being conditioned. So we begin to try to escape that feeling of insufficiency by shopping, for example, and our brain begins to say, I noticed that when I went to go shop, I stopped feeling unsafe. Wow, I like that. I'm going to do that again. And so then we shop again. Our brain gets a chemical rush of dopamine, all the good stuff, right? And those chemicals that are produced in our brain tells us to do it again, do it some more. And so our brain begins to pair shopping with feeling good, with escaping the discomfort of feeling unsafe. So our brain says, that's just going to be our thing. Shopping is going to be our thing. So then this person notices that now their bills are going undue. They're lacking the money that they need. Their lifestyle is inconsistent with their values. Because of the patterns that they're noticing in their life, this person is also feeling unfulfilled. They're actually feeling resentment because maybe they're arguing now with their spouse. They're not able to send their children to the school that they want to send them to because of their shopping, because of the results or the consequences that are being produced in their lives. And so that now we have a contradiction. We have a contradiction between what we desire from a values perspective and what we are producing because of our behaviors, because of the behaviors that are trying to meet our needs. What we do, number one, is to notice ourselves. We practice mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness is an amazing way that we begin to notice ourselves, notice how our behaviors, notice what our behaviors are producing in our lives. Notice what feelings are kind of there that produces the need to soothe. And so in essence, when we're shopping or emotionally spending, it is an attempt to soothe ourselves, soothe unwanted feelings that were produced early on that became activated by an experience. In essence, shopping is an addiction, just like any addiction, just like food addiction, drug addiction. Shopping can be an addiction. Spending can be an addiction because of the chemicals that are released in our brain that motivate us to engage in a behavior that's unwanted, that produces consequences in our lives that are also unwanted. So the key to curing shopping addiction or spending addiction, emotional spending, is to deal with the unmet need, to identify what need is being unmet and how do I feel this need or even avoid in a way that is actually value consistent in my life. A way that you can identify what your unmet need is by literally asking yourself when you're shopping, what am I trying to create? What am I trying to create? If you were like me during COVID when we couldn't go anywhere, I started emotionally spending. I would be on Facebook in the middle of the night just shopping. And I started to have to ask myself, what am I trying to create? What I noticed even in myself was the fact that I was shopping out of hope. I couldn't go anywhere. So I was shopping with the thought of, when I get out of this COVID, I'll be able to go somewhere and I'll be able to wear this. I was trying to create something for myself. I was trying to create an illusion because of the experience that I was having that was so overwhelming. So you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to create? What are you trying to rescue yourself from? What would feel so much better if my situation was different? So in identifying those unmet needs, what you might know is that it points to your emotional self. It points to what emotions are most present in my life and how do I manage my emotional health? You might notice that you might struggle with feeling overwhelmed often. And so dealing with emotional spending, curing emotional spending becomes about managing emotional health. When you feel overwhelmed, how do you tolerate distress? Do you deep breathe? Do you use imagination? Do you count to 10? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a run? Do you find someone that you can trust? Do you find accountability? Do you connect with someone emotionally? Those are amazing ways to help you to regulate. And that is the key to helping yourself manage in the moment when you're trying to find that safety. That is a key to helping you to regulate yourself and addressing your emotional health. I'm hoping that what I shared helped you to identify what emotional spending is, how do you notice it, and how do you manage it. Really, emotional spending is all about meeting unmet needs, and the way that you manage it is by addressing your needs, managing your emotions, and connecting with others. If you find that you need extra support in developing a plan for yourself and how to manage emotional spending, be sure to reach out to me. You can find my website at www.rehabilitateyourlife.com.